Testing, one, two, three. Telenasty. Welcome back to the Most Frustrated Podcast. I'm your host, TMF. Um, I want to start by saying I apologize to anybody who was waiting on the episode and didn't get one. But we're here now. Here now. Welcome. How y'all doing? Hope you're having a good day. I do apologize. Um, I'm working on my work schedule to line up with my work schedule. So I want to start by saying black people do not hang themselves from trees. So, you know what I'm saying? I could really title the whole episode that. But also, congratulations to Angie Nixon for winning her primary from Florida. Basically, just qualifiers so that she can be. She was already on the ballot, um, but so that she can be in the final running for Senate. I also forgot to mention Dana Marie Foster, which is somebody who is running for governor of Florida. So I do hope that we can give her the same amount of support that we gave Angie Nixon. And like I mentioned in the very first episode, I'm not a political influencer, or nor am I a. I'm not very knowledgeable on politics. I keep up with certain people. I keep up with certain things that are moving. People who are progressive and people who are actually making big changes in the community. Those are the people that I keep up with. I don't necessarily keep up with the enemies, the ones who are making the bad decisions. And in order for you to be in the politics, you have to be able to keep a close eye on your enemies. Or keep a close eye on the ones that are keeping things conservative, the same. Because one thing I do want to talk about is Angie Nixon is a huge step in the right direction, especially for Florida specifically, because DeSantis was in Trump's pocket. That was one of his little puppets. So I'm glad that we have somebody in the running who can actually represent us and our well-being and our needs. And of course, I don't want you to vote for Angie Nixon just because you see everybody else voting for Angie Nixon, just because you see the support. I want you to go and look at her policies and look at the things that she wants to change, things that she promises us to change. So I also do want y'all to remember not to fall in love with these people, not to take every word they say at face value, although I do believe in Angie Nixon 100%. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't I'm not saying that you shouldn't put your hopes up so that you can be let down. What I'm saying is we need to make sure that we are taking the necessary steps in order to have a safety net and not just put all our eggs in one basket, just because it looks good, just because it feels good, just because it's in motion. That's one thing that I failed to express in the last episode was I believe I was talking about how many black women have lost their jobs, or how many women in general have lost their jobs. I believe I said 28, which was way off. The correct number is over 28,000 since 2025. So that right there goes to show that women don't really have the job security patriarchy, And when you do think of women having jobs, you mostly think of women roles. You think of man roles. You think of certain things that a woman should be doing, certain things that a man should be doing. But in reality, all of these jobs call for each of us to be human beings in that role, not to be a man or to be a woman. Of course, there are certain places like restaurants, they want the server to be a woman. They want fast food, they want the first person you see to take your order to be a woman. We live in a very sex-driven atmosphere. America is sex sales. What I want to make sure that we don't forget is that this is the patriarchy. So we can't blame these women for being like, oh man, you just out here selling your body. Didn't I just tell you the amount of women who have lost their jobs in the past 2025? When it comes to a man hustling and a man having his side hustle, most times, something manly, I guess you could say. It's something that involves you having to defend yourself in certain places. But when it comes to a woman hustling, of course, you have nails, hair, things like you can make your own clothes, sew, you can knit. always go back to things like trick culture. We always go back to the fast money, the easy money, because doing nails isn't always easy money. Doing hair isn't always easy money. You know what I'm saying? That takes time. That takes a space. That takes energy. You know, I think we have to get to a place where we're able to genuinely be vulnerable with one another, but keep each other accountable in our actions and in our words. 'Cause a lot of people be thinking that they're gonna get one over on you because they snuck that little 1-2 in there, thinking it's a joke. But people are way too serious about things that we should be joking about, and they joke about shit we should be serious about. So that's why I can't even really get into it with a lot of people. Um, and when I do start talking politics, because like I said at the beginning, I'm not too deep into politics simply because I know in order to genuinely have a grasp on your politics and on your own stance as a politician or as a policymaker, you have to understand your opposition side as well. So you don't have to always understand it on a deeper level, but you have to understand their position. You know? And that's not something I'm always willing to do. I am willing to hear people out, but if I know that your motive is to keep things the same, your motive is to keep us talking in circles, your motive is to keep pointing the finger over here or moving the goalpost, then I don't have time for you. I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not going to go out of my way to convince you or to explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think politics is sometimes very strenuous. You can find yourself repeating yourself over and over and over again in a plethora of different ways and to the same people or to the same person. And I very much don't believe that that is something that I want to do, especially because I'm a person who's going to go out of my way. And one thing I love about Angie Nixon specifically, that she didn't take any super PAC money. She didn't take any money from these organizations that are funding manipulation tactics. A lot of these people will buy out your politicians so that you have to push certain narratives or you have to push certain agendas, push certain envelopes. I love that Angie Nixon didn't do that because if I was there, I wouldn't even be able to do that because I want to start by saying rest in peace, Nolan Wells, justice for Nolan Wells. Actually, I pray, right now, if y'all want to look into that, there's still a ongoing thing. Same thing with free Carmelo Anthony. I really do pray that his legal team gets everything going. I know that I'm losing my memory, but I know that they did do a retrial, so they are in the middle of doing that. And what I really, really hate about this whole thing, like I said, I wouldn't be able to be a politician because I'm going to call out the fact that they withheld so much information. They withheld so much information. There was a lot of things that we learned in retrospect to Carmelo Anthony getting a 16-year sentence, 14. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the specific sentence was. I really should have had that written down. But just in general, the fact that we have all of this information coming out on the back end after the Metcalf brothers were prayed, after the father went and did his rant, after we found out that, they had these connections. Why, in retrospect, why do we have to wait until after one of our black men, black boys, has been put into a cage in order for us to get even the slightest bit of clarification? And it's so sad how we focus so much on his reaction to what happened to him. The same thing with the Rick Child case. Like Nolan Wells, the fact that people were so hung up on him having a gun, so hung up on him running, when it's like you're trying to poke holes, when you're grasping at straws when there's nothing there. And I hate that politics is language. You're really good at language, and you can be really good at politics because language is manipulation. If you say it the right way, you can get a person to agree with whatever you're saying if you frame the question the right way. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be in the question. It doesn't have to be in a question format. It could be like a suggestion. And that's what they do a lot when they're interrogating people. They don't really question you. They lead you into it. They suggest a certain narrative. And then if you're like even lenient a little bit, they'll try to push the envelope. They'll keep on trying to move the goalposts, manipulate you, use these different words and phrases in order to kind of just confuse you. And that's why I feel like white people in general just have the best PR. America in general has the best PR. Like, even people in America just thinks that America still is the best. Like, of course, maybe it has more resources than other countries. Maybe it's more well off than other countries. But acknowledge how and why these things happen. You know, it always comes back to America being a bully. America being the dominant, the dominant one in pretty much every situation, pretty much every war. America has been the one that undercut it most people. America is very selfish. I guess that's how you become successful in America. It's by being selfish, by being a businessman, being dominant. I think going back to hustle culture, I talked about that a little bit in my last episode. We're kind of a little bit, I think that we're a little confused on what a good businessman really is, because we always look at Jay-Z, Black Excellence, same thing with Diddy. If we're being honest, everybody looked at him as a good businessman. Same thing with people like Suge Knight. Everybody looked at him as a good businessman because he had the resources, because he had this, that, the third. But if you really think about these people's characters, they're all bullies in one way, shape, or form. One of them might be a smooth bully, a finesse bully, one that you won't notice you got bullied or fucked over until after it happened. One of them might straight up tell you, give me that shit, that's mine now. Now you bullied out of it. And the last one might just pretend like it was yours the whole time, but it was his. So there's so many different ways to be dominant, so many different ways to be selfish, so many different ways to be a businessman. You have to be willing to dominate. You have to be willing to take advantage of these people. Same thing with these people that are in power. The reason why they're even able to be in power is because they don't care about people. I've had so many conversations on a daily with people about like power structures, power dynamics, and most of the genuine people that I talk to that are really vulnerable with me, they always tell me they don't really want to have responsibility of another person. A lot of my homies who don't have kids, they say that's one of their biggest fears is like having that responsibility, and not really knowing what to do with it. One person I really, really, really respect is Ray Daniel. That's an episode where he sat down with Deontay Cal on the Grits and Eggs podcast, and they talked about what it means to be a man, and like coming into your manhood, and really separating a man from being a human being. And I think y'all should go check that out. I'm not sure what episode it was, but yeah, it was just a really great, interesting, and respectful conversation they had between two very well-established black men who were being vulnerable, and just letting it be known that we don't always know what's happening. You don't always have to dominate every space you walk in. And that's not me saying that if you're a dominant person, you can change it. No, if you then be that. If it's working for you, then do your thing. But I just want you to remember that you can lose the battle before the match even starts. Like, a lot of times people are showing their cards the moment they walk into the room. But you may think that you have a trick up your sleeve, but so does everybody else. So biggest thing is not necessarily keeping your cards close to your chest, because you always want to be honest, you know what I'm saying? But you don't have to dominate every space. You don't have to fill up every gap. You don't have to, every quiet time doesn't have to be a conversation, and that doesn't just go for men, that goes for men and women. And to those women who feel like it's rude for a man to tell you you're talk too much or you're talking too much, it is rude for them to tell you straight up you're talking too much. Um, but I do want you to remember that there are times that you don't want to be bothered, and vice versa. So we need to learn how to be a little bit more considerate of one another because I had a conversation with my cousin basically talking about how someone was upset with him because he was saying, I'm in the middle of something, I can't really be bothered right now. But it's not always about what you say, it's about how you say it. She felt like he was saying, I can't be bothered with you right now. But in reality, he was just saying that he was trying to focus, but it's about how you say it. I think one of the biggest things is always going to be getting to know the person you're talking to. If the person you're talking to uses a lot of curse words, or like they're very sarcastic, or they just have low energy. They don't really feel like talking all the time. They have facial expression. Some people are nonverbal. They communicate with their body, their tone, their facial. So it's like you have to learn a person, and I think sometimes it's hard to exist in your own atmosphere and still try to actively learn other people. But I think that's what it's going to take. And it goes back to like listening to listen instead of listening to respond. You're not just trying to get in good with this person, but you're genuinely trying to get to know who this person is. Man, woman, snail, you know what I'm saying? Like, whether you are a man or you are a woman, you should be taking the time to get to know the people around you. And if you don't want to do that, then that's fine. But if it gets to a point where they feel like you're not seeing them, then be considerate, understand that. Like, and that's another thing. If you are a selfish person, then understand that it's not a bad thing to be selfish all the time. But if you're pretending as though you're not selfish and you're looping other people in and you're making false promises, that's selfish. Just be straight up with one another. And then maybe I'm using the word selfish wrong because it's not always selfish to just keep to yourself. That's called, and I don't want to use the word isolation because some people have bad connotations towards that, where they believe that means that just pushing everybody away. But no, some people just like their alone time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not at all. Going back to the people who are in power, it's like we have to remember it takes time to really, really become powerful and gain traction. And I think that a lot of times we forget that it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes a whole lot more than just talking about it. So I wish I still had my voter sticker so I could actually show certain things. But I've been posting everything all week. Not even post that. One thing I want to make sure I always emphasize is going to be like support one another. Like even if it's in the smallest way, like support one another. I think we have so much more potential, so much more, like, there's so many things that we could be building, especially here in Florida, Tallahassee specifically. A lot of people have the keys, a lot of people have the resources, but they don't have the manpower. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the right people backing them up. And that's one thing that I want to do. I want to be the one that helps connect people. If y'all ever do want to call in and talk about whatever problem y'all have, we can do that too. But I mean more on like the business aspect. If you have a product or you have something that you want to get out there, we can promote it. Of course, it's going to take time, and I'm not going to be someone who's just going to be promoted without that sort of stuff. Because like I said, it's supposed to be me connecting people. I'm not just going to throw it out there. I'm going to have things set up for that. So make sure you text me Isaiah TMF at gmail.com or on all socials, Isaiah TMF. Now, getting into like what's been happening around the world, not too much around the world, but just in America still. Puerto Rico does not have water. I blame it on the AI data center, and that's also why I've always been trying to get my brother, my sister, and everybody, not just me specifically, but people to stop using generative AI. ChatGPT, I believe that's fine, but generative AI, like anything that you know automatically generates things, is what is directly killing the water source. So we just have to make sure that we try to be conscious and do your part. I understand, like, oh, me picking up trash outside not gonna stop everybody else from littering. Yeah, but you're not littering anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, be your own person. Do your part. Don't contribute into bullshit because everybody else is bullshit. That's how we get nowhere. Once again, Gary, Indiana does not have power. So Puerto Rico doesn't have water, and Gary, Indiana does not have power. But they just came out with a new fucking chicken sandwich. I've been seeing Zaxby's, I've been seeing Chick-fil-A, all the chicken spots. Hella chicken. Nothing about these black folk though. Black people do not hang themselves from trees. But I've been seeing a lot of Chick-fil-A waffle fry sandwiches ads. You know what I'm saying? So I guess they trying to distract us with the chicken. I really genuinely feel like it's kind of sad how we live in a space where you can only get 1 or 2 wins and you have to take the losses on the chin. And it's kind of sad to say that, but it's true. People say, oh, well, plastic is in the water bottle. Salmonella in the fish, salmonella in the egg, salmonella in the plastic, in the water bottle, plastic too. It's like there's only so much you can do in order to provide a safe environment for yourself, in order to, stay healthy and stay on top of whatever it is that you need to deal with, because we're all different. We all need different things. But we do need to remember that the government is not here for us. The government is here for America, And of course, yeah, we are American citizens. I'm not saying that we don't belong here, and I'm not saying anything of the sort like that. What I'm saying is, we have to remember there's always going to be a totem pole of power when it comes to America. It's a patriarchy. It's a classism. It's so many different separations to a point where we have to figure out our own, identities. You can't let a label define you as a person. And once you do start letting a label define you as a person, you're no longer in control. You're no longer being yourself. Now you're a part of the flock. Now you're a bird. And that's not me shaming you in any way, shape, or form. That's me informing you that when you follow the crowd and you become a sheep, you become a lamb to the slaughter, and you just do it because do it for the gram. You know what I'm saying? All you're doing is just contributing to an atmosphere that we all already suffer in. That might be a little bit too serious or a little bit too heavy. And I've said this before, I'm not trying to change you as a person. I'm not trying to change you or your habits. I'm not trying to put you on a betterment for your life. That is not what this is. This is acknowledgement. This is consciousness. This is you taking the time for yourself, to actually pay attention to not only your being, but every black body around, and of course it's hard to involve everybody. Some people don't want to be involved, some people don't want to be bothered. Some people think you bullshit. And that's fine, let them continue bullshit. Stop explaining yourself. Stop letting it be something. Stop letting there be a problem where there isn't a problem. I've had this conversation with a couple of If a person doesn't want to be in a space with you, or if a person doesn't want to be with you, or if a person just doesn't want to be around you, you have to acknowledge that there are times where you don't want to be around other people. There are times where you want your own space, you know? So remember that. Be considerate of one another. Don't be upset. Talk about it. It may be a hard conversation, but it needs to be had, you know? Once again, justice for Nolan Wells. May he rest in peace. Justice for Carmelo Anthony. Free him. I pray that his legal team, his Avengers, come together and get him up out of there because he did not deserve that. He does not deserve to be behind bars for defending himself from two bullies. I won't even go deeper in the situation. I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in. I actually have a longer version, but I'm going to cut it here because it's going to take forever to upload. But I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in to the Most Frustrated Podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah TMF, and hope y'all have a good night. Stay blessed. Peace. Alright, man, I'm out, man. I really do appreciate y'all for tuning in to the Most Frustrated Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Isaiah TMF. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them at the bottom of the video. You can find me on all my socials are Isaiah TMF, ISAIAH that's on all socials. If you need my Gmail, if you have any questions, or if you want to do a phone call, get my Gmail. Get my socials, Instagram. Hit me up. Y'all have a good night, man. Peace.